Well, let's talk more on this with retired Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt, who is a former Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs. He joins me live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the programme. Hearing there from our correspondent John Brain that the Syrian opposition has said that this is a huge step forward, but should there be scepticism over Russia's withdrawal? Just this morning, a group of Russian planes left its airbase near Latakia.
I believe you're exactly right. We should view this with a significant amount of skepticism. The Russians aren't looking for peace in Syria right now. They are looking to be in a process to achieve some level of peace. But in many ways, they leave President Assad in a much stronger position now than when they arrived. There are obviously some other motivations that are going on behind President Putin's decision. And while it's helpful, we ought to move forward with a significant amount of skepticism, as you mentioned.
So what sort of message do you think, then, that this is sending out to the international community, given that this was a surprise announcement?
Well, I think we've got to understand what President Putin wants the message to be, that he's abiding by the peace process, that he's withdrawing his troops, that he's made a significant dent in the ISIS capability. But the reality is far different from that. While it may allow the peace process to start moving forward, we've got to realize that the Russians not only have maintained their base in Tartus, but they also have a new air base in Latakia. They certainly understand that they can resume airstrikes at any time. They have demonstrated that they can intervene anywhere, anytime in the region, and they leave the region with a significant amount of influence that they didn't have 8 months ago.
Do you think this is the start of Russia perhaps stepping away from being closely aligned to Assad?
I really don't. The Russians and their Iranian counterparts still have influence, and they have a stake in the success of President Assad. So while this has been a very expensive venture for President Putin in terms of a $3 million a day cost, in a time that he's got a very tough economy working against him, as well as sanctions, I don't think he's leaving for good. I think he still wants to maintain a foothold in the region.
The cessation of hostilities is on the whole holding. How is this going to, this withdrawal of military troops, affect fighting on the ground?
Well, hopefully it will hold up the Assad troop positions where they currently are. Obviously, the Assad conventional forces made great gains when they were supported by the Russian Air Force. They probably won't be able to continue offensive operations, but they'll still be able to maintain the defensive positions that they gained during the time the Russians were supporting them. And the Russians have said that they can continue to conduct airstrikes as and when necessary. So I think this is somewhat hopeful for the peace process, but it is clear that President Assad is going to hold on to what he's achieved over the last 5 months of the Russian support.
Okay, Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt, thank you for your thoughts.